Now that I have your attention, I need to tell you something. This commentary actually isn't about which political party is better. Sorry. The left and the right bring different strengths to this country. Their differences aren't flaws, they reinforce one another. Both factions bring the balance required to run a functioning society. Before I get into this, let me make something very clear. What I'm sharing is my personal opinion based on my own observations. I'm never claiming my interpretation is established fact. I'm certainly not asking you to blindly believe everything I say. I'm asking you to think about it. That's all. If you're a conservative or a liberal and you're operating from the healthiest version of those beliefs, you represent part of the checks and balances dynamic this country depends on. And many people argue that there should be another party. Why? To introduce more chaos? Listen, our two-party system, when it's functioning properly, is patterned after our very relationships, yin and yang, mother and father. It brings together two distinct forces with different instincts, different strengths, and different ways of protecting what matters. Conservatives and liberals aren't supposed to think alike. They're supposed to challenge each other, correct each other, and keep each other from becoming too extreme. Start with the conservatives, the right. The right represents structure, boundaries, discipline, order, and personal responsibility. It asks whether a policy is sustainable, whether the law is being respected, and whether people are being encouraged to become capable rather than permanently dependent. At its healthiest, conservatism protects the foundation. It preserves what has proven valuable, defends individual liberty, respects tradition, and recognizes that compassion without accountability can create even more harm. The right is the protective force. It says we can help people without dismantling the standards, institutions, and principles that hold society together. Now let's look at the left. The left represents compassion, adaptability, inclusion, and our responsibility to recognize suffering that may be invisible to everyone else. It asks, who is being overlooked? Whether the system is treating people fairly, and whether traditions that once served us may now need to be reconsidered. At its healthiest, liberalism pushes society to evolve. It challenges complacency, expands opportunity, and reminds us that order without compassion can become rigid and indifferent to human suffering. The left is the nurturing force. It says a strong country shouldn't merely survive, it should continue becoming more humane. Now look at what values they share. Both sides believe in freedom, dignity, safety, opportunity, strong families, stable communities, fair elections, and a country worth protecting. They disagree about how to achieve those things. The disagreement is usually about method, limits, and which risks deserve the most attention. The left may emphasize protection through public institutions, while the right emphasizes protection through constitutional limits, individual liberty, and equal treatment under the law. The left may focus on removing barriers to participation, while the right focuses on protecting lawful access and the integrity of the process. Both believe eligible citizens should be able to vote and that elections should be fair. Those aren't necessarily opposing goals. They're different methods of guarding many of the same values. That tension is not a defect in the system. It's the balancing mechanism. The right prevents compassion from becoming reckless, unsustainable, or detached from consequences. The left prevents order from becoming inflexible, indifferent, or resistant to necessary change. One side asks, what must we preserve? The other asks, what must we improve? A healthy country needs both questions because preservation without growth becomes stagnation, and growth without restraint becomes chaos. So as you can see, the problem isn't that we have two sides. The problem begins when either side stops performing its proper role and begins treating the other half of the country as an enemy that must be destroyed. There's a difference between a healthy political perspective and one that has been manipulated, distorted, or compromised. The problem begins when manipulation, corruption, or evil enters that balance. Pop quiz. If someone wanted to manipulate the political system to their advantage, which side would it approach first? Would it target rational masculine energy of the Republican Party? Or would they approach the emotional feminine energy of Democratic Party? The answer: they are going to approach the emotional energy first because openness, empathy, and compassion can be exploited once somebody learns which emotional buttons to push and if they're not grounded. That doesn't make compassion bad. Every strength has a vulnerability. If you have a big heart, somebody can exploit your heart. If you have a strong mind, somebody can exploit your certainty. Neither side is immune. So what does it look like when liberal or feminine energy becomes compromised? People begin responding almost completely through emotion. No emotional regulation, no critical thinking, and completely out of their minds. They may still believe they're acting from kindness or justice, but rational thought takes a back seat. Take Michelle Obama. This woman has achieved extraordinary wealth and influence. She's a multi-millionaire for Pete's sake. She served as First Lady for 8 years and has access to opportunities most people will never experience. Yet so much of her messaging toward Black people remains centered on oppression, exclusion, judgment, and the preconceived burdens attached to being Black. I understand acknowledging history. Wealth doesn't erase every unpleasant encounter. But eventually, I want to hear something else. Tell us how you built the wealth. Tell us how you created the opportunities. Tell us what your ordinary day looks like. Teach somebody how to move forward. At some point, constantly telling Black people how oppressed we are starts sounding like emotional pandering. When an extremely wealthy person repeatedly talks to struggling people about their oppression, but offers little practical information about building success, I question the usefulness of the message, and you should too. The same applies to Barack Obama. Some Black people interpreted his presidency as fundamentally pro-Black. I didn't. He was pro-party. One example was his involvement in a Virginia election where a Black Republican was running against a white Democrat. Obama supported the white Democrat because political alignment mattered more than racial identity. That should have shown people something. Politics isn't automatically about skin color. Obama doesn't align himself with skin color. He aligns himself with power and his party. He will manipulate whoever he needs to reach his goals, including Black people, period. However, political messaging constantly attempts to convince Black voters that racial identity and party loyalty are connected. Somebody says, "I look like you. I understand you. I know what you've experienced." Then before you know it, you're supporting an entire political agenda because you emotionally identify with the skin color of the messenger. That's where compassion becomes vulnerable. The same thing happens in relationships. Take almost any woman who deeply loves her husband or partner. If she believes you've harmed her man, you may have a serious problem. She may not wait for a full investigation or carefully analyze every piece of evidence first. Emotionally, she's coming for you, and she'll sort out the details afterward. That protective instinct can be beautiful when it's properly directed. It can also be manipulated. That's what has created what we now call the woke left. I'm not talking about every Democrat or every liberal. I'm talking about people whose hearts have been manipulated until emotional reactions replaced discernment. When someone tells voters that if a candidate wins, they may never vote again, that isn't measured political disagreement. That's fear. When celebrities speak as though one electoral outcome represents the collapse of the entire constitutional republic, that isn't rational political analysis. That's emotional escalation. Good people can still become compromised. Most of my family members vote Democrat, but they are conservative by nature. They have good hearts. When something terrible happens to a conservative figure, most of them don't celebrate it. They have empathy. However, When people laugh about somebody nearly being assassinated or become consumed by hatred toward one political figure, something has gone seriously wrong. Kathy Griffin's infamous Trump image is an example. The Democratic Party has been infiltrated by irrational and destructive behavior, but the conservative is slowly being compromised too. Pop quiz. What does it look like when someone from the Republican Party or conservative masculine energy becomes compromised? Answer. Their mind, their very strength gets manipulated. The person still believes they're being logical and analytical, but their thinking begins serving outrage, obsession, or tribal loyalty instead of truth. Candace Owens is the ultimate example. Whatever is happening, it doesn't look like disciplined conservative analysis anymore. It looks like a vendetta. Balanced conservatism doesn't start with a conclusion, then collect every strange detail that supports it. You follow the evidence wherever it leads. You establish what can actually be proven. When conservative commentators follow emotionally charged narratives, they're participating in the same manipulation they criticize. That doesn't mean everything they say is wrong. It means attention, resentment, audience loyalty, or political ambition may have begun directing the message. Other warning signs compromised conservatives display include constant talk of a race war, or repeated claims that people are losing their country because of racial mixing. True conservatives don't manufacture emotional drama to turn people against one another. Imagine a married couple is inside their home and somebody starts breaking through the front door. Instead of addressing the intruder, the husband and wife begin arguing over the perfect strategy. Should they confront him? Should they wait? They become so focused on proving which strategy is morally superior that they forget somebody is actively entering their home. That's what our political arguments look like. We fight with each other while the actual threat keeps moving forward. Sometimes one person is better equipped to handle a particular situation. If the threat requires clear boundaries, let the rational person handle it. There are moments when liberal energy needs to be quiet long enough for conservative energy to address immediate danger. Liberals need to learn when to shut up. I'm saying that lovingly, but you do. Conservatives need to understand the reverse is also true. There are moments when we need to shut up too. I'm fairly balanced, so naturally, I think I should be allowed to speak most of the time, but that's beside the point. Consider homelessness. A strictly conservative approach may focus on enforcement and public order. Those concerns matter. Residents deserve safe communities. But clearing an encampment without a pathway to stability doesn't resolve the human problem. That's where compassion is necessary. Give people a realistic opportunity to get back on their feet. Provide appropriate services. Address addiction, mental illness, employment barriers, and temporary housing. Once help has been genuinely offered, personal responsibility becomes essential. If someone consistently rejects every opportunity, there are limits to what society can do. At some point, you have to help yourself. Compassion without accountability is enabling. Accountability without compassion is cruelty. Nobody gets to control every issue. That's the yin and yang, the mother and father energy. That's how we create a functional country. And we can't forget about the independents. They are important because they can provide the deciding perspective. When many in government vote strictly according to party loyalty, nobody evaluates the individual issue because party loyalty already provided the answer. We need people who examine the proposal instead of checking which party introduced it. Independence can help move decisions forward when both major parties become trapped inside tribal loyalty. I've said all of this to make one central point. We need to stop the political violence between Republicans and Democrats and between conservatives and liberals. The real issue is manipulation. Pay attention when somebody plays on your emotions until you act irrationally. Pay attention when somebody manipulates your intellect until you become convinced that only your group can understand reality. Don't let somebody play with your heart. Don't let somebody play with your mind. When a wealthy person constantly tells you how oppressed you are while behaving as though you can't see their wealth, examine the message. Are they giving you a pathway forward or keeping you emotionally attached to the struggle? Instead of repeatedly explaining how difficult everything is, show me how you built your wealth. Show me how you escaped difficult circumstances. Show me which decisions helped you succeed. Teach me something I can use. I already know what happened in the past. I know racism existed and still exists. I know life isn't always fair. Now tell me how you became a millionaire. On the conservative side, when somebody repeatedly says, everybody is lying, only I understand what's really happening, examine that too. Healthy intellectual analysis provides credible evidence. It explains the reasoning. It allows questions. It accepts correction when the facts change. Give me the facts. Show me the evidence. Explain your conclusion. That's it. Don't automatically believe them because they're wearing your political jersey. So who wins between Republicans and Democrats? Neither side wins without the other. Healthy conservatives contribute reason and accountability. Healthy liberals contribute compassion and mercy. Healthy independents keep both sides honest. The danger doesn't come from our differences. It begins when irrational people, aka nut jobs or political opportunists, manipulate those differences until we turn against each other. Don't let political personalities convince you that disagreement makes your neighbor your enemy. And that's all there is to it. Let me know how you feel in the comments. I'm sure you will. Stay with me. Travel with me. Like the video and subscribe so we can continue the conversation. Until then, travel well.